The family of Joseph Haydn has owned vineyards here on the Spitzerberg, and exactly on Spitzer and Roterd, where I also have my vineyards.
Hi guys, here I am today with Dorli Muhr, one of the coolest winemaker from Austria, and today they are harvesting, so we are here to check inside the harvest. Dorli, do you remember your first harvest? Can you compare it to this harvest? How is it going now, and how was that time?
My first harvest was in 2002. And it was one vineyard, and we were like, okay, the grapes are nice, we pick it, and it was done in, I don't know, maybe 1 hour, everything was picked. And in 2025 we are now in day number 7, and it's maybe 40 to 45% of the harvest is done, so that's a big difference in size. The other thing is that we have our own wine cellar, because in 2002 I didn't have anything, so I used the wine cellar of a friend to make the wines, and also we didn't know yet how to do it, because there was of course no experience when it's the first harvest, and now we know already exactly which are the most important vineyards, the best qualities coming from which plot, which are the vineyards where we have to wait a little bit, which we have to take earlier because otherwise they get too ripe. So we have a plan, but the same thing that in 2002 is that you have a plan, but then the weather decides whether you can execute the plan or not. So we are getting a little bit stressed now, because the forecast tells us that there will be some rain from Wednesday on. So we are now very fast and picking very long days, because we want to make sure that we get all the important grapes in before the rain comes, if it comes, because the forecast is more like guessing than real. But this is a constant thing that goes on for the whole life when you make wine, that you don't know what the weather is, and you have to be prepared to all kinds of eventualities.
Then there is a huge change during these 23 years.
Yes, the whole climate has changed a lot. In the old times, when I was a kid, for example, we would never harvest before 25 of October. That was when the grapes started to become mature, and so this year we started on September 13, and last year we were finished on September 12, because it was an even much hotter year than this year. So you see, it's a complete change in comparison to how the climate was 20 years ago or 30 years ago, and we have to adapt everything to that.
Is there a scent or something which comes in your mind according to this harvest, which defines you, this harvest?
A sound, you mean?
A sound or scent or something which defines this harvest? Something.
Well, what I really like about this harvest, or this year's summer, it was a quite warm summer with some heat waves and also some rainfall. But I think the most important for defining the vintage is that we had all the summer quite cold nights, which is fantastic, because if you have cold nights, first of all you sleep much better, but also it slows down maturation, it keeps more freshness, and it keeps more acidity. So I think that the harvest, or the vintage 2025, at least everything that has been harvested before the rain, will be defined by a lot of tension, you know. And I like to compare tension to like a prima ballerina who is dancing pirouettes on her points. There's very little like contact with the soil, and all the concentration, all the strength, all the muscles, all the goes up, 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 up. So this is tension. It's very vertical. It's not heavy, bold, you know, no gravity. And I think that the vintage 25 will be a very vertical vintage, while having the body of the warm summer. So it's not too light-footed. It's not just like thin. It has a very good body, but this very interesting vertical tension that will define the wines.
It's always good to wait for something like this, because you know it's like pampering a child, you know, taking care for something which is very special, and you know fasting can be good, but sometimes the things which takes more effort, more time, can be more can give more, you know.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, we have learned that Blaufränkisch or Frankisch in Hungary is a grape that really needs time to mature. So, like some years ago, we brought the wine to the market like after 2 years. We bottled after 2 years and we brought to the market. And now we keep it another year in the bottle. So we have the wines for 2 years in the cask. Then we bottle it. We keep it for another year in the bottle. And only then we start to release, because we think that the wine gets much better balanced and shows much better its character. The ideal would be to release the wines like 10 years after harvest. But this is something that I cannot afford yet. Maybe one day I can do it, but that would be ideal to release them only 10 years after harvest and make them maturing for so many years first in the cask and then in the bottle. That would be ideal for Blaufränkisch.
I see. And for those who don't familiar with this region, Carnuntum. How should I pronounce?
Carnuntum.
Carnuntum. How can you describe this area? How does it look like?
Yeah, Carnuntum is, first of all, the word is a Latin name, and you wonder like how comes that we have a Latin name in the corner of Austria, which is very close to Slovakia, very close to Hungary. And the reason is given by geography, because we have the beginning of the Alps, which is the Leitergebirge, is the beginning of the Alps, and on the other side we have the beginning of the Carpathians, which both mountain chains like start in Carnuntum, but between them there is a corridor of about 20 kilometers. It's a flat corridor, and this is where the Romans came up, because it is the only place in Europe where you don't need to climb a mountain to come from the south to the north. So it's the only place with a flat corridor. And they came up in the year 8 and settled at the Danube, where they built a winter camp for the army. And later this camp became a military city and then a civil city, which had 70,000 inhabitants in the 1st century. It was a big, big city of the Roman Empire. And nowadays, of course, it doesn't exist anymore, but we kept the name for the whole region. So this is first why we have a Latin name in Austria. But this corridor that invited more or less not only the Romans, but later the Turkish and the Russians and whoever who wanted to conquer Vienna went through that corridor. So this is why this region has always been devastated and destroyed and whatever. This corridor decides also about the climate and therefore about the style of the wine. So because we have always wind here, as you can see even today. So in a year we have 320 days of wind, usually strong wind, because in that corridor it's like, you know, there is the Carpathians, there is the Alps, and here is the wind. And this wind dries down our vineyards. it keeps the soils very dry, but also it goes against the rains, because usually if we have rain in Austria, the rain comes from the Atlantic, from the west. But this wind that usually comes from the southeast fights against the rains, and this is why we have very little rainfall. So we have little rainfall, and the little rain that comes is getting dried off by the wind immediately. And we have high temperatures. We have soils like here on the Spitzerberg, which is sandy limestone, so everything is quite dry. And the dry and sunny conditions mean that the wines are light-footed. You would say, how comes? They should be bold because there is a lot of sun and little water. But if you think about photosynthesis, so the process when the grape takes sunshine plus water and produces sugar, and then you see, okay, if there is a lot of water and no sunshine, you have little sugar. If you have a lot of sunshine and no water, you also have little sugar, because it needs both components to produce sugar. So what we have a lot of sunshine, we have very little water, we have a lot of maturity, a lot of aroma, a lot of taste, but not so high alcohol, because of the lack of water. So this is, I would say, a very typical element of the wines from Carnuntum, that we are very aromatic, very mature in the taste, but not heavy. So nowadays, if we are with 13 alcohol, nowadays it's already moderate. And this is about what we have in Carnuntum. So elegant wines, not too heavy, not too bold, with these tensions of the Prima Ballerina, and with a lot of aroma. And it's mostly red wines in Carnuntum.
It's wonderful that you are working in this region, which is, I can say, not so familiar for those who like Austrian wine, because you can make it more famous. And I like that you are not only a winemaker, you are also a communicator, and you work not only for your region but also for the to make Austrian wine famous. And as far as I know, you are from this region. Is it?
Yes,
is
yeah. I'm born like
correct?
10 kilometers from here in a village that is called Rohrau. And this is where Joseph Haydn was born, the composer, you know, who worked many years with Esterhazy.
Played on piano.
Ah, okay. Yeah, exactly. So he was born there, and I was born there. And the most interesting thing is that I have just been in the castle of Esterhazy in Eisenstadt, and I saw they have a museum there about their wines and about Joseph Haydn as well. And they said, and I didn't know that the family of Joseph Haydn has owned vineyards here on the Spitzerberg. And exactly on Spitzer and Roterd, where I also have my vineyards. So now I try to find out which plots, maybe we can see still which plots they owned, and whether we have the same. Maybe imagine I would work on the same vineyards as the family of Joseph Haydn. That would be great, yes.
That's great. And do you remember what was the moment when you decided that you will have a winery here, you will make this region famous and find your way in the wine, in your language?
No, there is not such moment. I mean, everything is a process and an evolution. And in the beginning, I just wanted to make, some bottles for my friends and myself to enjoy some wine with food and lunch and dinner and so on. And I did not have the plan to make a whole project like it is now, just for my private consumption. But then I realized that this Spitzerberg is really an outstanding terroir, which can produce world-class wines, world-class wines. And I said, okay, then I have to go for it. And then I was offered another vineyard to buy, and another vineyard, and some old wines, and some younger wines. And so I did all these experiments, and I found out that it's really, really great. But it was not my plan. I didn't have that strategy. Yeah. I had already one job that actually was enough, but yeah. what shall you do? If the Spitzerberg calls you, you have to go for it.
What did you learn this year from your colleagues during the harvest? You know, every harvest is challenging, and maybe you have something, you were learning something new. What is?
You know, every year, every harvest, and every day you learn things, and I think again this is kind of an evolution. In the old times, we would measure the sugar and then decide whether the grapes are ready for harvesting or not. Also, we don't care too much for the acidity because it's there usually and we should not wait too long. But what is really important is that the tannins are mature. And the tannins is something you just can't taste it. You cannot measure it, whether it's ripe or not. So you go through the vineyards and you taste and then you say, okay, that we can pick. And what we did in some cases is that we picked a vineyard in 2 slots. So there's the frog. So the higher part of the vineyard we picked maybe 3 or 4 days earlier, and the lower part of the same plot a little bit later, because the tannins there were not yet mature. So it's always tasting. You don't measure, but you have to taste, because the things are evolving and there's no recipe of how can you measure whether the grapes are mature or not. You really have to taste it and then decide, okay, now today we do this, today we do this, today we do this.
And I know that you work by hand, so you harvest by hand.
Yes, definitely.
So it's very labor intensive. How do you find people who are working in the vineyards? Do you work with different people?
Yes. I'm very lucky that I have a fantastic team that does the vineyard work all year. They all come from Hungary. It's a fantastic team that I can really rely on. They mostly come from Magyarország, so which is quite close from here. And some of them work already as long as 10 years with me. So there's Scholt and Sándor and Csaba and Ferenc. So they are all here with me. And then for harvest, they bring friends or people they know to work with us. So because otherwise, you know, you don't know how intense the people can work, or if they are, if you can really trust that they come every day and so on. But they bring their friends. It's already, you know, over the year they just talk to them, and then so there is friends from around Morzsan as well, and they work with us for the harvest, and it's a fantastic team. So we are there between 10 and 15 people out there, which is a lot for our small winery, but we do a very accurate picking. So of every grape we take out every berry that is not perfect.
So you select it, and
we select it in the vineyard. So if there is an over mature berry, we take it off. If there is a green berry, we take it out. If there is a dried berry, we take it out. It takes a long time. We are very slow while picking, but when the grapes come to the cellar, they're perfect. So we don't need a sorting machine or a sorting table. We have tried it because one company wanted us to test it, and we said we don't use it because nothing is better than our pickers. And you know that I have always been a little bit resistant against the sorting tables that you use in many wineries, because if you have a sorting table in the winery, that means that outside in the vineyard you make a tuk 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 tuk. You cut
they
it,
can go
and then they pick on
the
you're very fast. Then you put it on the sorting table, which rushes as well, and then you have to see like that. I don't think that you can do the same careful selection as if you would do it directly in the vineyard. We take one grape, we cut one grape, and we look around it, we put on, we select it, we do like manicuring, and then we put it there, and then it's perfect. So it's a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of money that goes into picking, but I prefer to pay people than to invest into a machine.
And I think it's still a guarantee for the quality.
Much better. much better. And there is also the emotion of the people.
Yeah.
You feel it.
Yeah, and what do you think? What is the most important thing for you now to protect the quality?
The most important it's not easy to answer, because top quality is always the result of many details. So one of them is, as I said, picking in the right moment.
With the right people.
And then with the right people who do a perfect selection. And then a very soft vinification. So we do a very soft extraction. We do foot stomping with the grapes.
That's cool.
Or we just push down by hand. So everything is very soft, because we don't want that you can taste in the wine our winemaking, but that you can taste in the wine where it has been growing. And that means that in the cellar you have to be very decent, for not over extracting, over wanting, for not giving your stamp to the wine, but it should have the stamp of the vineyard plot, So that's it. A lot of hygienic work. The right time of extraction before you press it. It's a lot of details. No new oak. We only use matured, so old casks, because they don't give too much tannins. It's a lot of details.
Would you say that wine is your life?
What else? Yes, it's a fascinating subject for different reasons. I mean, how I came into wine is really because I did this travel to France by bicycle, and we saw many wineries and people and wines, and maybe the first thing that impressed me was that everyone who works in wine and with wine is a special person. So all the people who work in wine are really fascinating people. Most of them are nice. Most, not everybody, but most of them are very nice. Whether you do wine production or wine trade or sommeliers or whatever, it's everybody who is really passionate about wine is a nice character. So it's a very nice industry to work in, because it's nice people. And the other thing that has fascinated me always is that in the wine that has been, fermenting, being in the barrel, and then for many years in the bottle, then you open it, you put it in the glass, and then you can say limestone, or schist, or loamy soils. And that's what impresses me so much, that after so many years and so many different processes, you can still taste which soil it was. And the only instruments that can detect it is our nose and our palate, because you don't have any scientific or technological means to tell what was the soil where the wine was being growing. You cannot tell. We don't have analytical methods at the moment. It's only your nose and your palate that says limestone. I love limestone. Limestone, silk, very fine, very dense, very light-footed, but very dense at the same time. And that's what has been fascinating me I was 20 years old, from the first day on, and that fascinates me still, because this is why I make single plot wines, because they have a different expression from the soil. And this is why that we don't interfere too much in the cellar with our winemaking, because we want the plot to talk and to be expressed in the wine. And then there is the neighboring plot, like Obere Spitzer is 300 meters from Obere Rotert, and they taste differently. And it's impressive. Even now when we picked it, you taste already difference in the grapes, and it's the same Blaufränkisch, it's the same age of the vineyard. We do the same winemaking, the same maturing, and you have the two wines in a glass and say, it's different, it's two different worlds. I mean, it's still Blaufränkisch and same vintage, of course, but it's a different expression, and that's only because of the soil, and that's so fascinating. Yes, I could talk my whole life about that. It's really fascinating, and there is little products in the world that can do the same. I think tomatoes can be very terroir driven, but usually we don't care about it because we go to the supermarket and buy some, I don't know, Dutch tomatoes or whatever. But tomatoes can show the soil where they have been growing, which is fascinating as well. But wine definitely can, because you can bottle the wine and keep it for 20 years, which in tomatoes is more problematic, yes.
And according to food, do you have one special dish which you think enhance almost all of your wine? So what would you like to serve for dinner for your guests, if you can only make one dish when you don't have too much time?
As I love to show that Blaufränkisch is an elegant, light-footed wine that you can pair with nearly all food, I usually like to make fish, because that's, people don't usually say, why don't you make lamb or beef cheeks that you cook for 3 hours, whatever. But I make fish just to show how nice it is to pair a little bit chilled Blaufränkisch with like a sea bass in salt or something like that. And if I choose vegetable with it, I like to choose some bitter vegetable like radicchio, which is perfect with red, with the tannins and the acidity of the Blaufränkisch. So I like to pair everything with Blaufränkisch, all kinds of food. And if I think that, I don't know, the acidity is maybe too high for this dish, I put a little bit more salt on the food, and then it works. If I think the tannins are maybe a little bit too harsh with that food, I put a little bit more olive oil or lardo, that bacon, on the dish, and it absorbs perfectly the tannins. So it's really a matter of like fine-tuning in the very end, that it pairs. But usually if the wine is balanced and the food is balanced, it always works together.
It's good that you experimented this kind of food and wine pairing.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit tricky thing.
Yeah, but it's the pairing is, sometimes people say, that wine smells of cherries, it must be great with a cherry cake. I said, well, it's the smell, it doesn't, so it's all about the texture, what it fits with. And
the acidity and
exactly.
the texture.
The structure, the acidity, the tannins, that has to pair, and then the smell is something different.
I see. And I know that you are very serious about organic winemaking, and protecting nature and working in a fair way. So this topic is, I think, important, because we have to talk about this. It's not only the way of work; it must be a way of life. So now, what do you do in these days to work and live this way? Do you have something new in your mind?
Well, first of all, I think organic is not the target, it's the start. To grow organic grapes is just normal to me, and one thing is that you get the certification, because then they say you have to do this, or you cannot do this, and then you get the certification. But a sustainable, holistic process is much more than that, because your grapes get certified organic if you don't use these products, but it doesn't tell you how the soil looks like, or how resilient the soils are when you get a lot of rain in one day, or how resilient the vines are if it's a long dry period. So what we want, what our target is, because of quality, is that our vines, our vineyards, can become very, very old, because the best wine is always made from old vines. 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, or older if possible. So all our work aims to the fact that the vines can age very long time, that they don't get sick, that they are healthy in the age, that they can still produce good grapes in the age. So that means from the very beginning we do soft pruning, this method that it's a soft way of prune them, which is a system that has been invented by Marco Simonit of Simonit in Cirque, and we use that now for 8 years, and it's fantastic. It makes a big difference. We have to make sure that the vines don't bring too much fruit when they are young, because then they get exhausted and they don't get old anymore. We work organic because they are healthier, they are more resilient if we don't spray them with all that stuff, So that's the thing, and we try to do everything in a biological way. For example, I want to have animals in the vineyard because of the holistic approach. So now,
that's super.
My nephew is producing eggs. He has chickens who run in the fields, and he has a lot of them. And like after nearly 2 years, the production is going down very much. So it's not, for him who needs really eggs, it's not efficient anymore. So I want to take over his chickens then and put them in my vineyard, so that they could like pick out all the insects and stuff that we don't want to have in the soil, and also make the soil more fertile with their own contribution. So this is why we have now at the moment we have 40 chickens there waiting that they can go out in the vineyard after the harvest, and this is I call it the pilot chickens, because it's a test whether it works, and we will see if that works, and if really the soils are getting even better, more resilient, and if the chickens like it as well. So maybe this is one of the things. Then we have chickens in the vineyard, and maybe one day we have eggs from Spitzerberg, which are completely natural and organic. And another thing that I feel is extremely important is that we use little energy, because that's why our wine cellar is built as it is. We have very thick walls. We have 80 centimeters of walls to keep the temperature as good as possible for the whole year. The same temperature, the same humidity. It's like a church. You go into a church in summer, it's cooler. You go into a church in winter, it's warmer. So we want the same temperature all year. And again, this was investment in people, because if you work with bricks, you need people to build it, and it costs a lot of money, the working hours. If you do a concrete wall, it's much faster, and cheaper as well. But then you have to use energy, because concrete does not isolate it as well. So again, I invested into manpower more than into the machine that makes the concrete. And like, for example, from the tasting room.
That's a great idea. Yes. I really like this idea.
And for the tasting room that you see here, we want to have a lot of light inside for the tasting, but we don't want to have sun inside in summer, because it's getting too hot. So the whole building was put in a way that we have done a simulation program first to check out at which time of the day is the sun in which time of the year, and so that in summer we have shadow all the time, and except in the west. And this is why we have built these green walls, the plants that make shadow. And you see, otherwise, if we would have full sun now inside the room, so it's a shadow room, and it's also cooler between like the plants and the walls than outside. And that's the same thing that is growing here. It's not finished yet, of course, because our air condition grows very slowly. So also the whole building will be covered by the green wall that makes sure that the sun doesn't touch the wall, and also cools down the temperature. So I believe that inside this kind of pergola, the temperature will be at least 5 degrees less than outside. And 5 degrees is already a big thing. If we don't need then the energy like an air condition inside. And on the other side, in winter, the plants let fall their leaves, and the sun is deeper. So from the morning till the evening, we have the sun shining in there, and I can work there all day, sitting all day in my office without getting cold, without having the heating on, because the sun is like the heating through the windows. So this was a very like what we call smart architecture, which includes nature and does not work against nature or correct nature. So we really use nature in a very good way. And I think this is being organic in the vineyard is one thing, but having a holistic approach, which is including architecture, energy, but also how you treat people, how you work with them, I think that's at least as important as only being certified organic.
It's a really cool atmosphere. I like the bio lake, or how do you say it? It's
like it's a small pond, and what we, you know why? Because I have a pool in my other house, a swimming pool that it's an old one, and so I always had to put chemicals, and I hated it. But then I saw that the swallows came on the pool to take water to build their nests, and I was like, oh my God, the poor young swallows, they will grow in a chemical nest. So if ever and I thought, why don't they take natural water? Why don't they take the chemical water? And I realized that there is no natural water, because everything is covered. You know, you go from the car to your bedroom without getting wet shoes. So that's when I'm building a cellar, I will make some natural water as well, and that's the reason for it. So of course we can swim as well, but first of all it's made for swallows, and there is frogs. And here in that dam, we have built the dam with the earth that we have to dig out for the cellar, and the dam has more functions. On one side, it closes the place a little bit. But it's also protecting from the wind, because here on this grass, this is now not cut because we keep it natural, but in summer we are doing concerts here. So this is the stage where we are sitting now, and people sit down in the grass, and they are protecting from the wind by this dam, so that the wind goes on top. So it has always a function as well. And the most beautiful thing is that in that dam, if you go there, you will find so many pheasants and partridges, because it's just the right height of herbs, and so they are there, and they feed the young partridges, and in the evening around 6-7 they come out, and they walk to the pond, they drink some water, and they go back, and you think like, yes, that's nature. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much, Dorli. And guys, for more insights, please subscribe.